Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings. We do have a yellow rain and wind warning issued for Thursday, as we are going to see some pretty unsettled conditions in places, as we do really see this low that's been sat over us for the last couple of days really spin up. We have to look at that in detail on the latest UKV. Fortunately, as we head into the weekend, we could see that pressure rise for Easter Saturday and Easter Sunday, maybe even into the Monday as well. So we could see a couple of days of something a bit drier. With drier weather, we of course see a little bit more sunshine. And today we're seeing temperatures perhaps even getting up towards the mid to maybe even high teens in some places on Easter Sunday, where of course we do see that sunshine. But as we head into next week, as we see from the longer range runs into April, things are probably going to be turning unsettled again, and there is still a lot of uncertainty with those air masses. We are going to see a big block to our north, and we still don't know 100% which side we're going to be on in terms of air masses, whether we're going to be on the warmer or cooler side of the low. I must say majority are now starting to go for that warmer side or the milder side, but there still are some that are showing some cold, and some like the GFS operational, which is showing a bit of cold and a bit of warm. So quite all over the place as we head into early April, but we'll look at that in detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, to like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And if you start on the live radar, you can see it's a pretty unsettled evening for western and southwestern areas. We do see heavy rain associated with this low that we've had sat over the top of us for the past couple of days. Again, another small little daughter low developing on that, and it's really spinning up at the moment, giving very heavy precipitation. Now I say precipitation because we actually are seeing some pretty heavy snow in some areas. I was expected to be over the higher ground, down over some of the moors and downs, but we're actually seeing some to low-lying areas, even sea level. And the reason for this is evaporative cooling. You can see some very high precipitation rates, very low pressure, and that essentially means it's allowing in that small pocket the freezing level to drop very quickly towards the surface. Now, of course, we're not seeing massive settling snow here. It's not going to be waking up to anything too major in the morning. Most of it will have melted if settled at all by the morning. But temporarily could see some slushy accumulations here through the rest of the evening. Again, just showing you the power of evaporative cooling. When we do have cold upper air temperatures, but surface temperatures not too cold, around the mid to high single digits here, that evaporative cooling can bring those temperatures suddenly down to around 1, 2 or 3 degrees, and we'll be able to see that on the temperature charts in a minute. And the reason for this is because we are seeing colder getting drawn in on the northern side of this low, wrapping in, whereas on the eastern side it's slightly milder with the wind direction coming more from a southerly. So again, very small microclimate details aiding this phenomenon. Further northwards, showers still developing, but we're going to see this area of precipitation across the southwest developing northwards and pushing eastwards as well. So areas right now that are dry, we'll be seeing further rain as we head through this evening. Hopefully, though, majority of it clears by the morning, but definitely further northwards, it could linger. And if you look at the temperatures, you can see the huge contrast at the moment. On the western side, it's colder, as we are drawing cooler air in on the western side of the low. On the eastern side, we're drawing on warm air from the south, and that means that it's slightly milder. You can see the power of evaporative cooling here. Of course, over the higher ground, it's close towards freezing, towards more low-lying areas around 2 or 3 degrees, and you can see about 50 miles eastwards towards Southampton, for example. Look at those temperatures, around 7, 8, 9 degrees or so. So huge temperature contrasts, all due to that evaporative cooling. Further northwards, temperatures are cold as well. The upper air temperatures are still chilly. Further northwards, here we're seeing temperatures drop down to low single digits, maybe even towards freezing overnight tonight. And you can see it's really distinctive. Cold air on the west, mild air on the east, rotating round the low. And it is not unusual to see this sort of pattern, these sort of distinct temperature contrasts, but it is very interesting to see it directly over land and producing snow on the western edge, rain and milder conditions on the eastern edge. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we do have some weather warnings issued for tomorrow. We've got this rain warning issued for eastern Northern Ireland from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. Again, for seeing some heavier rain, 10 to 20 millimetres widely, 20 to 30 millimetres, especially over the Antrim Hills. Of course, here we have seen quite a bit of rain over the past couple of days. This is more just due to simple accumulations than for this individual event. And then we have got a wind warning issued for the far south coast from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Again, for strong winds and potentially large coastal waves. Could see winds up to 50 miles per hour or even 60 to 70 possible in a few areas. Again, we haven't looked at this in detail in the past few days because it has really sprung up, and it's all due to the fact that this low is really spun up. But as we've said over the past sort of week or so, we have been expecting this stormy weather. It looks like it could peak through tomorrow. Again, looking at high impact, low likelihood. So do have a look at that in detail on the latest UKV. You can see the precipitation moving north through this evening, and as expected, there is some snow within it. We see here the pink here is mainly over the higher ground, but it's actually more extensive, all due to the fact that we have got evaporative cooling taking place. That precipitation will simply move northwards overnight, and as I said, will give pretty widespread rain and maybe even some more snow for Wales there through the early hours of the morning, and then eventually will move northwards, lingering across parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England into Scotland, and then could here see a secondary area of precipitation moving into South Wales and southwest England. This is where we're going to see those very strong winds associated with this weather front as well, moving through Thursday afternoon, and could be pretty horrible through the afternoon into the early evening with lots of convective, squally showers spiralling around this low. Eventually those showers will clear northwards and we'll see rain linger for Scotland. I could see some more showers further south and eastwards, but into Friday, still seeing showers around, but it's more of a sunshine and sporadic shower day. No big lines of rain here. And then as we head into Saturday, we do see, again, slightly dry conditions. Again, showers around, but plenty of areas seeing lots of sunshine, drier conditions. And the same can be for Sunday, for Easter Sunday, the last day of March. Actually, pretty dry, sunshine breaking through, a few showers dotted around, but actually would be a very pleasant day. And then finally into Monday, 1st of April, it's still dry, but we're starting to see rain return as we do see low pressure moving back in. Through the weekend, the upper air temperatures aren't exceptional. Look at that, maybe low single digits at best. So we're not going to be expecting anything towards sort of high teens or even low 20s, which is possible if we did see those upper air temperatures a good few degrees warmer, but maybe even mid-teens is possible, as we'll see now. So you can see the temperatures overnight tonight dropping down towards freezing or low single digits further northwards and westwards, further southwards and eastwards, more towards the 7 or 8 degree mark. And again, this isn't taking into account the evaporative cooling that we're seeing, where those temperatures are locally quite a bit colder at the moment. Into tomorrow, again, frost waking up in the west, and in tomorrow afternoon, temperatures struggling around that 7 to 11 degree mark, as we again seeing lots of rain around, thick cloud holding those temperatures back. Finally, as we head into the bank holiday weekend, it could be a frost for Northern Ireland and western areas through Friday morning, but by the afternoon, temperatures rising slightly higher, maybe 10 to 13 degrees. And then as we head towards Saturday, a chilly start, but by the afternoon could get up towards 12 to 14 degrees, so slightly higher. And then into Sunday, could even get towards 15, 16, or maybe even 17. So it could even start to get to the realm of being called a little bit warm there. And then finally into Monday, turning a bit cooler as we start to see the wind direction change, cloud and rain starting to try to return. If you finally just have a look at those wind gusts through tomorrow morning, again, you can see them picking up through the mid-morning period, maybe even 50, 60 miles per hour, maybe even locally 70 being seen there, but eventually starting to peter out through the afternoon to the evening, but could be pretty strong around that mid to late afternoon tomorrow. So yeah, it could be pretty wild out there indeed before eventually clearing. Could be even worse when we do see those squally showers moving in. So please do take care with those. Could go 1 minute sunshine, next minute heavy rain, maybe even some hail and very strong gusty winds. So again, could be, as I said, a pretty wild afternoon and evening, so do watch out for that. So if you now have a look at the longer range, you can see we have got low pressure parks over the top of us at the moment. Eventually it will fill in by the weekend, and that's why we're going to see temperatures rise and the pressure rise, meaning dry conditions. You can see though, blocking returns to Greenland, and it does try to push cold air our way. And this is where we have the debate whether we're on the cold side or the warm side of this low that's sat over the top of us. Now at the moment, the GFS kind of has us in between. You've got very cold air flooding southwards, mild air in the south, and you can see cold air gets in for a time before mild air wins out. Cold air comes back, and then mild air does win out again, for eventually, right in the extended range, we're starting to try and push in easterly winds. But I must say, in the reliable time frame, we are mostly seeing sort of up and down low pressure with cold air and mild air mixing. So yeah, pretty up and down temperatures. nothing too consistent apart from the fact that it's going to be pretty unsettled. If you look at the latest GM, again, low pressure parked over the top of us. That pressure rises up towards Greenland, blocking developing there, trying to push in a northerly wind, but not having too much success. Seeing cold air in for Scotland, maybe more heavy snow there in places, especially over the higher ground, but eventually mild air winds out. You see this big low out the Atlantic will likely drop a pretty strong southwesterly in the subsequent days. We'll be watching this in midwinter for a bit of a battleground situation, but given the time of year and the depth of cold to our north isn't as strong as it would be in January, for example, this is more just going to produce quite a bit of rain and yeah, pretty cold, horrible conditions perhaps in many areas. Finish by looking at the latest ECMWF. Again, low pressure parked over the top of us. That blocking arrives up towards Greenland, and then we attempt to push in northerly winds. But then look at this again. We're seeing big block here, but southwesterly winds are starting to push in. So this is kind of a bit counterproductive really on what we normally associate, but it's just due to the simple orientation of the low and the high, and the fact that this high pressure towards Greenland is completely disconnected from the Azores high. If it had some sort of connection, it would block off the Atlantic and we would draw those winds in from the north. Again, it's not that much of an issue, but I can imagine if this had happened in January, we would be there would be quite a bit of annoyance with this, as it's a pretty much perfect cold pattern, apart from the fact that this pesky low out in the Atlantic is trying to push in. But of course, it is heading into April now, and I think most people would agree, we'd rather be done with cold weather for the next sort of 6, 7, 8 months. So yeah, a late season cold snap is not ideal at the moment. The synoptics are kind of there, but it's not quite working out, fortunately, and it does bring in milder conditions. But of course, with blocking around, it means the jet stream is more amplified, slower moving, so it does mean cooler air is around, and low pressure systems are slower to move through. So do finally have a look at the ensembles. You can see generally around average over the next week to 10 days, and then we see a lot of variation in the longer term, but as I said, they're a little bit more biased towards slightly warmer conditions, so more southwesterly winds trying to push in. If we look at those 2 meter temperatures, you can see around average to maybe slightly below average over the next week, maybe high single digits the next couple of days, rising towards the low to mid teens by the weekend, maybe dropping a little bit next week. Longer term, inevitably looking higher as we head, of course, towards summer, but still a lot of variation there. Some runs pretty cold, some runs pretty mild, but the big thing you can see is precipitation is consistently very high. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, very similar picture. Next week to 10 days around average, quite a lot of precipitation around, and a bias to slightly warmer conditions in the longer term. But unfortunately, it's not associated with higher pressure, so we're not looking at 20 plus degrees or a run of low 20s. We're probably looking at mid to high teens at best, with lots of rain around, bringing those temperatures down whenever we do see the rain and low pressure systems move in. So one positive we can take is that it doesn't look like it's going to be going particularly cold into early April at this stage, but it doesn't look like it's going to be going dry. It's basically showing milder air masses moving back in, but we are going to remain under lower pressure, just on the warm side of the low instead of the cold side. Essentially just meaning we're going to stay unsettled for the foreseeable future. So no end in sight for the rain. Hopefully though, we do see some sort of drier, maybe warmer period into April, May. It is typical that we do start to see our first sort of dry, warm, or you can even argue a little heat wave as we head into the middle to end of spring months. So hopefully that is on the horizon, but unfortunately for the time being, we're not seeing it at the moment. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.